Hi, I'm Randi Levenbaum, the USA Pickleball Mountain Region Referee Training Coordinator based in Las Vegas, Nevada. I'm a certified referee and a registered referee trainer. If you would like to learn more about the resources available to help you become a USA Pickleball referee, please visit usapickleball.org. From there, click on Get Involved and then Officiating to find all the resources available to assist you. Today's inspiring pickleball referee story features Nancy Kaplan. Nancy is from Long Island, New York. She's a USA Pickleball ambassador, a registered referee trainer, and this past September earned her USA Pickleball Certified Referee credential. She earned it at the 2002 Atlantic City Open, and today she's here to share her story. Nancy, welcome and congratulations.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be here.
Nancy, would you briefly tell us about your pickleball experience prior to becoming a referee?
Sure. I was looking for something to do after I retired, and someone mentioned the word pickleball. I didn't know what it was. And it was a sport, and I'm probably the least athletic person you'll ever want to meet. But I said, what the heck? Let me go check it out. So the town that I live in, town of Hempstead, was offering free lessons. So I said, sure, let me go check it out. And Jones Wong was the teacher, and he was awesome. And after I took a couple of days of lessons, I helped to organize some open play with a whole bunch of beginners at the town park, and ended up becoming an ambassador a little bit after that too. So that kind of kept me busy, and discovered I had a little athleticism in me.
That's wonderful. From there, when did you decide to become a referee, and why did you decide to become a referee?
So Jones Wong again, who was our ambassador at the time there, and I think district ambassador, had said that he was thinking about trying to see if some of us might want to learn how to be referees, and he was going to look into it. And I said, that sounds kind of interesting. And so I said, I'd be interested if you decide to do that. And that's where that started.
And then from there, can you share your story about how you got involved with the referee process and how you moved through that process to ultimately become a certified referee?
Sure. So the short version, sort of, is that I had just been kind of getting into the whole playing, and then we had COVID come along, and so I was like, well, we can't play. But then I heard, probably from Jones, that Diane and Bob Unitich were offering something online to learn about refereeing. I said, that sounds like something I'd like to do. So for the next month or so, once a week, I think, we would go online, a bunch of people from all over the place, and learn the basics of refereeing. We obviously didn't have any court time, but we were learning about score sheets and things like that. And that was a really good introduction, where I started to realize this is a good way to get the best seat in the house without being too athletic.
And then once the online training was done, did you head over to the USA Pickleball site and check out what was going on there?
So then I just did whatever I could to find out anything I could about pickleball. And USA Pickleball was probably the best place to go initially, because it's very rich in resources. And so I looked at that site. I probably clicked on everything I could. I had become a USA Pickleball member shortly after I had taken my first couple of lessons. So I got to see, and I started to read the rule book and the officiating handbook and all the other things and videos and whatever else I could find there, is what I started to do at that point.
And at some point, did you head over to Facebook and see what was available there?
Yes, I typed in pickleball and just saw whatever I could find for that. And at the time, there was one for people who were training. The Pickleball Referees in Training site was there. And I don't remember which others, but whatever I could find that said pickleball, I decided, yes, I'm joining those groups. And I also was looking at YouTube videos and seeing, whatever I could find. Now there's a lot more than there was then, but I watched some YouTube videos to just get a sense of what the game was like, and Tried to watch the referees. The angles weren't great for me to do that, but I could at least try to keep score and try to get used to the pace and try to keep my eye on feet instead of the ball, which was a challenge.
Okay, and then from there, most people progress to something in their local area at a park or some courts or a club. Did you do something like that?
Right. Well, as in the summer, they started opening up some of our courts. Because of the pandemic, everything had shut down initially, but now we could play outside. So I started going over there, playing sometimes, but also watching to see what it would be like to ref. So just for a while, I just watched and had a score sheet with me and tried to do it that way. Then eventually I did ask people if I could referee. I told them I was practicing and they were very gracious. No pre-match briefings. It was straight, let's do a game. And it taught me a lot. And I would make copies of score sheets and send them to Bob and Diane Unitich because they were the only people that I really knew at that point.
And they had done your initial online training, right?
Right. They had done the online thing that I had done prior to that in the fall. So this was the summer of 21. And so they were the only ones I knew to contact about that. So they were my official or unofficial trainers, and they were extremely gracious and encouraging the whole way. And they would give me feedback and ask me questions, and I would implement anything they said.
So then after you'd done this, did you have a chance to get some in-person referee training?
So fortunately, again, Jones Wong arranged to have Bob and Diane come out to Long Island, and they did 2 full day clinics, approximately 6 hours each, which I went to both of them so that I could just repetition, and I figured that would help. And it was the first time that I was actually going to have on-court experience now with feedback, which was crucial because I hadn't really had any of that up until then. So that made a big difference for me.
I'm sure
Helped
it
me a
did.
lot.
And
Yeah.
I'm sure at this point now you're building a relationship with Bob and Diane, who are
Right.
excellent trainers
Yeah.
in the mid-Atlantic area. And I guess they saw something special in you because I hear that they encouraged you to follow up after that and come to one of their tournaments.
Yes, they did. They said, we have a tournament coming up next month. Why don't you come? It was right outside of Pittsburgh. And I'm like, I think I should do that because, I really want to see what a tournament's like. I really had no idea. So I did end up going to that tournament.
And how did you prepare to go to that tournament? What steps between the time you had this instruction and you had about a month to get ready to go to your first tournament?
Sure. So I took on usapickleball.org, there are these online tests. So I knew to take those
what
tests.
Kind of tests are they? Tell us
about
it was those.
A referee test, a player test, and a line judge test. And I took all 3. They're timed.
Are they true, false?
Multiple choice. Yeah,
okay.
Mostly multiple choice, some true, false. And you instantly are told right after you take it how you did and if you passed or not. And you can take it as many times as you want, which was good because I've continued to do that. But I took those to just kind of get into it. I'd been reading the rule book. I'd been reading the officiating handbook. I had a zillion questions, which were Bob and Diane were great. I would email them with questions. And I also, before I went to that tournament, I did some more rec practice. And I also got a copy of, there's a visual acuity form that you have to have completed by a health professional. So I had that done as well, so that when I would go to that first tournament, I had everything I needed. But my expectation there was to simply, maybe they'll let me watch, maybe I'll get to ref something, we'll see.
So you really had no idea what you were going to get into. You figured it was be more training.
Yeah, I mean, I was doing a lot on my own, but I didn't really have someone in my area to watch me on a regular basis. So I basically went with the hope that, okay, this will be my first tournament. I'll get to see what it's like up close, and maybe I'll get some feedback if they'll let me, referee a match or something like that. That was my expectation.
So you drive all the way from Long Island to outside of Pittsburgh. You're there the day before the tournament starts. And what is your experience the night before?
So I get there after a long, long drive. And first thing I did was check out the venue because I really wanted to. And then I called Bob and Diane and I said, okay, I'm in the area. And they said, well, come over and have dessert with us. We have some other people here. And I did end up going to their home where I got to meet a whole bunch of other CRs. There might have been one
CRs
or
are
two.
certified referees,
Certified
right?
refs,
Yep.
yes. So most of them were certified refs. I think there was one level 2 ref. And we all sat around the table talking. And next thing I know, I'm like, well, give me some scenarios, or I want you to quiz me, you test me just to see how I do. And I'll never forget, Bob Swisshelm decided to ask me everything and anything about medical timeouts. And I mean, in detail. And I was glad because I had never experienced it before.
So it
So
sounds
that
like
when
you
the
got a
first time I
nice,
finally did, it was good.
it sounds like you got a nice introduction to the referee community, and they were
It was
very
great.
welcoming.
They were extremely welcoming and encouraging. I was nervous because I hadn't met any of them. I didn't know the community yet. I was a newbie. So it was a really nice feeling to know. And so that made me feel good the next day when I went for the actual tournament. I already knew some people.
Yeah, that's always nice, right? It's
Yeah,
like the first day at school and you don't know anyone, right?
Exactly.
So you get there the first day and you have no credentials. You're a brand new referee.
Yep.
And what do they give you? And how does your day go?
So I was given a name tag, so I had something on my shirt, and then they hand me a board and they said, here, go do this match with a score sheet on it. And I'm like, really? And
By
so I
yourself?
did by myself. At least I thought so. And then they came back when it was over and they gave me another one. And they had me doing that the entire day. And as I think I said, I had not expected to be doing that. I expected maybe to shadow and maybe they'd give me an opportunity down the road. But here I was being thrown into it right away. And at the end of that first day, Bob Unitich came over to me and said, okay, I've been watching you and I'm giving you your level 1 credential. And I was shocked.
So unbeknownst to you, he'd been watching you all day long and evaluating all your skills without telling you,
which I didn't know.
Makes people very nervous. So
I had no idea.
You had no idea, which was great for you.
I had no idea. Right.
And
no, it was fabulous.
At the end of day 1, you're now a level 1 credentialed referee and you get a new name tag.
Yep. It was very exciting. And so that was day 1. And I figured, okay, so I'm going to be doing this for the rest of the tournament. And so I went in the next day and I was level 1, very proud and whatnot, and did a whole bunch more matches. And then the last day of the tournament, I started as a level 1, and then all of a sudden Bob, like, come here. And he sits me down and he starts asking me questions, like rules questions and things like that. I'm like, what's going on? All right. And I try to answer the best way I could. And then he takes out a label with my name on it and puts it on a level 2 credential and hands me the level 2 credential. I'm like, really? He said, yeah, I've been watching you. And I guess I was so focused on the courts that I wasn't really noticing that he was watching. So I ended up with a level 2 credential at the end of the tournament.
And how did you feel at the end of that tournament based on your initial, expectations for what really happened?
I was delighted. I was on cloud 9. I had no idea that was going to be the result of that tournament. It was beyond my expectations, big time. So I was very happy.
Like that might have been a turning point to finally, from starting the training to actually becoming a ref and getting involved with the community?
Yeah, I think by getting the credentials at that tournament, I started to feel more a part of that community. I mean, also combined with having met all these people, and the wonderful thing that I didn't know about until I was at my first tournament was everyone sits around and talks about things that went on in the ref tent, between things, and just talking to other refs, I started to feel much more comfortable, and I said, oh, I like this community. I think this is something that I can keep doing. And so I left feeling very good about it. And of course, at the end of that, Bob and Diane, again, being very encouraging, said, you know, we have another tournament coming up at the end of the summer. Perhaps you'd like to come back. And so I did.
So I understand that at following that first tournament, Mr. Encouraging Certified Referee Bob and Diane Unitich approached you again and mentioned the role of becoming a registered referee trainer. They kind of floated that idea. And how did you meet that initially?
So my initial reaction was, what? like I just got this. Now you want to do that to me too? I mean, I'm a retired professor, and so I feel comfortable teaching, but it never occurred to me that that would be something I would do in refereeing. And so when they threw that at me, I'm like, let me think about that. I don't know. Let me give that some thought. So I had a long drive home. And I'd say within a month or so, I looked up on USA Pickleball to see how one becomes a registered trainer. And I ended up becoming a registered trainer.
Well, there you go. And then as a registered trainer, what have you done locally?
So I've already run several clinics that are one day. They're usually 6 hours that include classroom and on-court experiences. I have another one coming up soon, but the idea was to see who else might want to become a referee in the area. Bob and Diane came to our area, but that's kind of a long drive for them. If I can do it locally, I figured, let me see. And I did have, a lot of people come with interest to learn, and it's been a very rewarding experience.
And how does that help you as a trainer? Does that help reinforce your own knowledge when you have to pass it on?
Absolutely, in many levels. Not only because I'm teaching it, but I have to review everything beforehand as well. And then any questions that might come up, all those things. So it keeps me on my toes. And there are some students who've come into the class, some trainees who are very knowledgeable about the game already, as well as some who know nothing about the game. So I have to be able to address all levels of interest and ability and knowledge. And so that definitely has been really good for me as well.
So that's a great way to give back and also help yourself with your own knowledge and understanding. Very good. So I understand that throughout the summer, you traveled to some more tournaments and decided to go down to Florida to be a snowbird that winter. And tell me about how you spent the winter down in Florida.
So before I went there, I went to, I think it was pickleballdesk.com, and looked up tournaments that were going to be down in Florida, and decided to pick some that were within driving distance of where we have a place. And so I signed up for 4 tournaments over the winter. And again, I was a little nervous because I didn't really know what it would be like to be down there. And I saw names on the list. I knew a couple of the people, but there were a lot of people I didn't know. But I said, you know what? I'm just going to go for it and see what happens. So I did.
And I understand that Bob and Diane also wintered down in Florida. Is that?
Yes, they do. They're on the West Coast. I was on the East Coast, but they also came to, I think they were at all of the tournaments that I was at. And so we would spend some time together and talking, and actually it was during dinner one time, I think in January, that Bob said, so when are you going to get a mentor? Because what I knew that meant is you get a mentor when you're ready to go for certification. And I had been kind of putting it off because I didn't feel ready. And when he said that at dinner in January, I said, I don't want to waste someone's time unless I know for sure that I could do this. And he was in his own way saying, you know, you can do this. I know you can do this. You should do this. And I'd say within a week or so, I contacted Julie Scott in Florida, who assigned Joanna Corker to be my mentor. And best decision I ever made to do that.
So during the winter in Florida, how did you and Joanna work together to help prepare you?
So Joanna was the best mentor. We spoke on the phone for a while first, and then we arranged for me to go to where she lives, which is about 30 minutes south, at least once a week, to go to a local park where she would get players to play while I refed. And it would usually be about 3 hours each time. And she would literally stand next to me and have a score sheet in front of her as well. And I now realize what she was doing was similar to what would happen when an evaluator would be working with me for the final step. But and then we'd sit and we'd talk about, you know, feedback and what'd you do here and why did you do this and did you see this and you missed that. And I was screwing up a couple things, but I was getting most of it right. But you know, I still had some learning, and it was great having someone right there who could give me instant feedback, and then who I could call, and we would speak on the phone a lot during the week or text or whatever, and she'd send me questions or I'd send her questions, and it was a really, really wonderful experience working with Joanna.
And how important do you feel like it was having the mentor in general and Joanna in particular that to help you through the final part of the process to become a certified referee?
From my personal experience, I think it was crucial. It was so important to know that there was someone who was really looking out for my best interest by making sure that I knew everything I possibly needed to know. I know she enjoyed having the questions that I would always contact her with, and I was always asked, because I had a lot of questions. So I was always asking, and what exactly does this wording mean? I don't understand this, or something like that. Or I would find a video and I'd send her a clip and say, this doesn't look legal, but it seems that they let it go. Or she would send me a clip. Is this legal? Things like that. But it was having that one-on-one relationship to me was such a critical piece at that point for me. I can't say enough. And Joanna was awesome. And we still have a really wonderful mentor-mentee relationship, even though we're both now CRs.
Well, that's great. So can you tell us a little about any additional resources or processes or things that you use specifically for yourself to prepare for this certified referee evaluation coming up, besides working with your mentor?
Sure. I think I read a lot of things and then realized that I needed to maybe create some kind of a study group. And so I said, well, if I can find someone who wants to study with me, and that kind of stream of consciousness, I ended up reaching out to some of the people I had worked with who are trainees in New York. I was still in Florida. This was in January, and I said, thinking about doing a study group thing. We could do it on Zoom. If anyone's interested, let me know. And so I got some feedback back. I also told a few of my friends who were certified refs, and they said, I think that's a great idea. And so a few more people joined on, and before I knew it, I had a nice group of people. So end of February, I started a group that I call Refs and Rules Study Group. I said, we're going to go through the Officiating Handbook 2022. We're going to read every word on every page from the very beginning to the very end. And as we go through it, if anyone has any questions or comments or thoughts, just yell them out or raise your hand and do that. And so I basically started facilitating a weekly call that we have continued to this day. It took about 16 weeks to get through the Officiating Handbook. We just finished the rule book because I decided we'll do the rule book next, and then the case book, which we're almost finished with now, and that'll be 2022. I have about 190 people on my email list now.
Wow.
So it kind of grew from the few that I expected to a lot of people all around the country, which has been wonderful. And, you know, just the discussions and the interactivity, it's been very, very rewarding. So I started it for selfish reasons, perhaps, because I really wanted to make sure that I knew things. But as it grew, I realized that this was a wonderful way to give back to the community as well. So
And yes, maybe it kind of started selfishly, but really you're advocating for yourself, right? Advocating to help you study and prepare.
True.
And you were able to give
True.
back and have other people with similar ambition join you. And if somebody
That's
wants to
true.
join your calls, you're going to do this through 2023 at least, correct?
That's the plan.
So if
Yes.
somebody wants
So
to
they
get
can
on those
email me.
calls, how would they contact you?
Yes. They just have to send me an email at pbnancyk@gmail.com and just tell me they want to be on the list, and then they'll start receiving the emails, which include the links. And I do record everything, so you can always go back and look at the prior sessions that we've had. And I just have to say, Randy, you have been a huge asset to that group as well, because
Well,
you know,
all the
having
CRs
input
try
from
to
you,
get on.
right? Well, there've been a bunch of CRs on there too, which has been awesome. So it's become
Well,
much bigger than I ever expected in a very good way.
Yeah, what started out as a study tool for you has turned into a great resource for all of the referee community, especially the trainees. But
Yeah.
the current ones, the current referees wanting to stay current, it's a great platform for that as well. So
Yeah.
I know that you created this study group, which has blossomed and morphed into something much greater than you anticipated.
Yes.
Tell me about any other self-help resources or processes that you used. Someone told me that you had something, a vision list. Tell me about that.
Yes, I created a vision list. It was supposed to be a vision board, but I didn't have time to create the board. So I just made a list of words that would be motivating, that would kind of put it in my head. I mean, the word certified certainly was one of those things. There was a quote that I had gotten called "A goal must have a deadline."
Very
So
good.
that was kind of helping to say, okay, you can't just stay in this, you can't stagnate. You have to have a goal of when you're going to do this. And so my goal to be certified was to be certified before the end of 2022. And so I did meet my goal. So that was a good thing. And you know, there was another like 13C, which is a rule that enables referees to use their judgment in many ways and shows that we're the ones who are managing the court. We're there for the players in the game, but we ultimately have to make sure that we're doing the right thing. And so that's always been a favorite rule of mine. So I put it up there too. I also had a Post-it.
Hold that a little
that,
closer to the camera for us. There you go. What's it say?
It says Nancy Kaplan, certified referee.
And where
So
was that?
that was right on my bulletin board, right in front of me. So whenever I would sit here at my desk, I would always see it there. So that, again, I'm visual. So it was another reminder to keep me from swaying myself in any of it. Okay, stay focused. You got that goal. And so that worked for me.
And then I'm guessing that you were inspired to start your Zoom call because you were also on Bob Swisshelm's call.
Yes.
And the In the Ref Tent call. So those two
Right.
calls
So
are on other days of the week. The In the Ref Tent is once a month on Wednesdays, the first Wednesday of the month. And Bob has a weekly call on Tuesdays. And
right.
You can find all the information about that listed on the Facebook group, Pickleball Referees in Training. So we'll post some more information about those calls as well. So your Zoom call that you created, we realized that those calls last an hour every week. And you're very strict about starting on time and finishing pretty close to the end time. And we all appreciate that. How do you prepare for those calls each week?
Well, I actually start the week that when I finish one call, I start preparing for the next week right away while it's being downloaded, the recording. I will look at what we're going to be doing next. I always prepare for more than what I expect us to cover. I create notes. When we were doing the officiating handbook, I would copy all of the rules that were mentioned in the handbook for the next, few chapters, if you will, and put them onto a Word document and set it up so that it would be easy for me to switch back and forth when I shared my screen. And I always listen to the call that we've just finished. I always listen to it again because I want to make sure that I got it all, because sometimes when I'm facilitating, I may have missed something. So this way I get to listen to it again. So that's about an hour. And then I just mark, I have notes, I mark things up in my handbook or rule book, depending on what. And I send out emails I send a follow-up email out after the call, and then I send another one before the next call with the Zoom link and a few other notes when appropriate.
So we're all getting the benefit of your 1 hour call, but that
Yeah.
1 hour call is probably taking you 2.5 to almost 3 hours from
Probably.
preparing, facilitating, reviewing, and preparing for next week. So
Yes,
that's awesome that we get the benefit from all that. And you're
I get the
value
benefit
of
too, though.
studying.
Yes, I get the benefit also because the repetition is always a good thing for me too.
And then any other study groups that you utilize preparing to become a certified ref?
Yes, there was one that focused on scenarios that I became a part of. There were only 5 of us in that group, and we would meet, I think,
How did
for
you
about a
find
month.
each other?
I think it was something posted on Facebook, on one of the Facebook groups that I was in. Because remember, I went to every possible pickleball Facebook group I could find. And so I was the only one from New York in the group. Everyone else was either Texas or West Coast, but it was fabulous because we would all bring scenarios and have discussions, and it would last sometimes a couple hours. I mean, they were really, really helpful. But the goal was to prepare to become a certified ref and to prepare for your ATS, advanced training session, as well as your on-court evaluation.
And so what were your final steps leading up to your certified referee evaluation?
So once I knew that I was going to go for it, I prepared to get my ATS, advanced training session, which basically means that a mock match would be put together for me with players who were in on it, so to speak, and they would each be given a number of things to do to test me, basically, to see how I handled things on court, if I knew the rules, if I knew how to apply the rules, all of those things. And so I, again, asked every certified ref I could find, what can I do? What do I need to study? What should I think about, etc., just so I could do that. And so I got feedback from lots of people, not only the Unitiches, but also my mentor, Joanna, as well as people like Bob Swisshelm, yourself, Julie Scott, Larry Scott, Derek Prince, and Trish Stewart. I mean, I just asked anyone I can think of. I'm sure I left out a lot of names, but I did ask a lot of people just so I could prepare as best as I could.
So you actually get prepared, you go to your advanced training session. How did that go?
It went very well. It was an indoor tournament in a convention center in Pittsburgh, and I was very nervous
And
when
this
I
wasn't
got there.
during the tournament, right? This was the
This
day
was the day
before?
before. This was the day before the tournament, but I was nervous. There were a lot of CRs there, certified refs, as well as some L2s, as well as, spouses and friends of people who were going to be there. And they basically set it up for me to referee 2 games. The first game was kind of a regular game with all sorts of interesting things happening. And then the second game was as if it was a third game of a 2 out of 3. And it also had line judges. So, and it also, because it was the third game, supposedly you got to also do a change of ends. So they could observe all of those things. Lou Sherfinsky, who's the certified referee coordinator for the North Mid-Atlantic region, was the person who was watching me do all of this and evaluating me on that.
So you did.
And then
fine.
afterwards,
Yep.
I did fine with that. And then afterwards, I still had to have a conversation with Lou, where he then asked me a whole bunch of other questions that were related to rules and scenarios and things like that. And that lasted about an hour. And then afterwards, he said, I am putting you forward to be evaluated.
So
And
you
I was
did
like,
well.
yay!
So now you schedule your certified referee evaluation for September
Mm-hmm.
at
Yep,
the
September in Atlantic City.
Open.
Yes.
And the day arrives. You've been preparing for nearly 2 years now. And what
Yes.
happened?
So I was scheduled for Tuesday, and it actually started on Monday. So I was scheduled on Tuesday, and my evaluator was Gail Scavangelli. And I had been told that she'd be my evaluator prior to that, because I had gotten an email about that once I was assigned the venue. And I was a nervous wreck because she's had the reputation of being really tough and by the book. And I was like, oh, I hope I can do this. And so I get there and she smiles and she said, okay, this is great. It's Monday and we're all good. And they sent me out to do some matches on Monday. And then Tuesday comes and I'm supposed to meet her at the desk at 7:15 in the morning. We do our referee meeting. And then I was advised to ask for a practice match, like a warm-up match, so that I could kind of warm up for the day. And Gail basically said, what do you think yesterday was? Let's go out now. I'm like, okay. So we went out and I did my first match and I thought it went well. And afterwards, we meet and we deconstruct, and she agreed that it went well. And then we did a second match and then a third match. Third match had to be a medal match. The first match was a lower level. The second match was a higher level. And then the third match, and they were all doubles, and the third match was a medal match. And then after that, we sat again, and then I had to be quizzed. I believe it's called compulsory, for anything that she had not observed. Like I had not had any medical timeouts. So she asked me all about medical timeouts. I had had some prior to that in other tournaments now, but I still always think of Bob Swisshelm when I think of medical timeouts because of him grilling me when I first met him.
So you make it through all the compulsory questions,
and then when it was over,
and then what?
And then she says, congratulations, and she gave me this shirt.
Certified referee.
And I was like grinning from ear to ear. I was like, and during that entire day, all the other referees know that you're going through this and everybody wants to be there for you. But I had been told to kind of stay by myself, don't stay distracted, etc. So when I finally did finish and I walked back in and everyone's looking at me like, well, I said, and I held up the shirt and they're like, ah! And then everybody's congratulating me. And I felt really, really good. But I felt so comfortable with the community at that point because I had really been supported for the entire journey. So it was really, really a good thing.
That's a great story. So basically nearly 2 years, the process took from your initial online training.
Yes.
To earning your actual certified referee credential, advancing through level 1, level 2, becoming a registered referee trainer, and ultimately earning that CR certified referee credential. So congratulations again.
Thank you.
So what I'd like to point out to our viewers, that what Nancy did differently than most of the other referees that go through this process is for her, having that vision list was very meaningful to keep her focused and motivated and on track. She had that whiteboard with her ultimate goal, Nancy Kaplan, certified referee, right in front of her so that she doesn't lose focus of what she's trying to do. The selfish, quote, selfish act of creating the Ref and Rules study group has now turned into a great service. And it's a way that she advocated for herself and held herself accountable by having others join her in the call. She also was a part of a small study group that people just organized on their own that were in a similar circumstance to where Nancy was,
Right.
getting prepared for their advanced training sessions and their certified referee evaluations. So like-minded people meeting each other in the community. They're nowhere near each other geographically, but because of Zoom and our online groups, you can still feel connected to other referees in other part of the country and help each other. So Nancy, tell us, going through all of this, would you have done anything different in hindsight?
Probably not. I think I'm in, I thought about that, and I don't think there's anything. I think everything that happened was supposed to happen the way it did, and I'm very pleased with the journey that I took. So no, I wouldn't change anything.
That's great. And where would you recommend that others start if there's someone interested like you are? Maybe they don't even know that they want to be a referee yet, but they want to check it out and see what it's all
Right.
about.
Well, the USA Pickleball.org site is very rich with resources as a good starting point. There's lots of Facebook groups with all sorts of information about as the Pickleball Referees in Training group, the Ask the Pickleball Ref group. I have one that I set up for Long Island called the Long Island Pickleball Referees.
So if
But
anybody's in the
there's
Long Island area, how would they find that?
just look for Long Island Pickleball Referees
On Facebook.
and on Facebook. Yeah. So I set that up, and I have people who are not even from Long Island who've signed up, who are, maybe 100 miles away, but they still signed up. I had people come in from several hundred miles away to take some of my referee training classes. So because there aren't enough of them here yet. So we want everybody to come so that we can have more refs here and have more tournaments here.
So you've had this journey through the last 2 years. What do you think are the easiest and hardest parts of being a referee?
I don't think anything is easy about being a referee. I mean, I love the community, I love the people, but in terms of easy, I think it requires someone who is going to stick to it, who's motivated, who is willing to put in the time and the effort to do it with lots of support from the community. But I'm not going to say it's an easy thing to do, because it's really not. In terms of the hardest, for me, probably saying no sometimes, because I find myself sometimes doing a little more than I should. But I think the other thing is tied to the no is figuring out what my stamina level is. Going to tournaments, what I discovered over time was I couldn't keep saying, oh, I'll just do that one. And oh yeah, I'll do another one. And I'll do another one. My feet started hurting me. I started getting tired. And then, you call the wrong score because you're not paying attention. So I think for me, that's been the hardest thing, to realize that I can't do it all, that I have to make some choices and figure out what works for me.
So the last question I have for you today is, what are your future plans regarding pickleball?
Well, one of the things that I'm really focused on is trying to build the referee community on Long Island and in my general area, because I would like to see more people who can referee so that we can have more sanctioned tournaments ultimately in the area. As an ambassador, I've been working with a lot of town officials locally and in general, and many of them know that I'm a referee, and apparently I'm the only certified referee registered on Long Island. So I've been letting that word out so that people know, and I get phone calls all the time and so, okay, I'm having a clinic, maybe you'd like to come. But we now have finally gotten a lot of the local towns interested in having more tournaments, because they see how many people want to be involved in it. So I'm hoping to just do my part to build that referee community in the area so that we can have more. And then, of course, to keep on refereeing whenever I can.
That sounds great. So we're going to share with everybody your congratulations when you finished getting certified. I know you'll enjoy these
Yes.
photos. So you
Yes.
have your mentor, best mentor ever, to
Best
quote
mentor ever.
Nancy, Joanna Corker. This is
Yes.
once Nancy received her certified referee credential at the 2022 Atlantic City Pickleball Open. And the next picture is our director of officiating, Mark Pyford, also was in attendance at that tournament, was the head referee,
Correct.
and got to share congratulations with you in person. So I'm sure
Yeah, that
looking
was
back
great.
now that you still are as excited about that as you were the day you received your credential.
Yeah, I think I'm still like, I look at those pictures and I think I was still in shock a little bit because it was like, wow, I actually did it.
Well,
So,
congratulations
yeah.
again. And we're going to
Thank you.
share some more resources. If you are interested in finding out more about USA Pickleball and becoming a referee, you can go to usapickleball.org and find more info. You can also find a USA Pickleball referee training coordinator. Also on the usapickleball.org site, we have the link here to go directly to the location to find someone, hopefully in your geographic area. This is that Facebook group we've been talking about, Pickleball Referees in Training. You can join the referee community, find out about all the different Zoom calls and other training opportunities. And once again, I'm Randi Levenbaum. I offer pickleball referee training both online and in person. So if you're interested in that, contact details are here. And just to let you know, if you are a referee looking for tournaments that need referees, one of the primary platforms is called Pickleball Desk, pickleballdesk.com. And that is where tournaments post their that they're looking for referees. So once again, we hope everybody enjoyed the call. I hope you look forward to our next installment of Inspiring Pickleball Referee Stories. Nancy, thanks again for sharing yours with us today.
Thank you, Randi. This was fun.
And until next time, keep on practicing.
Yep. Take care.